It's an ambitious feat that India aspires to get and not something that we can't get. We have the technical know-how, the expertise, the enthusiasm and the encouragement to pursue it. Chandrayaan-3 is going to be a milestone and hopefully it will be successful. This is India's anticipated space mission. It's underway. It will be Liftoff by Bahubali rocket LVM-3 today at 2:35 p.m. from Sriharikota. We'll get you different voices, experts, the reason why this mission is so important to India, and how is it that India will enter the elite club of nations, including US and China, which have had this successfully. India would be one of those few countries which will get it right. Now, this moon mission is a follow-up after the crash landing of Chandrayaan-2. There were various lessons that were learned. In September 2019, due to a software glitch, it could not be as successful as one would have liked it to be. The main goal of Chandrayaan-3 is to land the rover on the lunar surface on 23rd August. If successful, India will become the fourth country. Russia, United States, China have already achieved this feat. What is the importance Chandrayaan-3 holds for India, and what is it which is lined up? Why is it so important in India's ambition to be one of the leaders in space research and much more? Joining us on the broadcast is also a leading scientist, Mr. Gauhar Raza. He's with us on the broadcast today, sir. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hello, good afternoon.
A very important day. First, to simply break it down for our viewers, why is Chandrayaan-3 important? And what would it do for our space mission, for our growth, and development that we are witnessing in the sector?
Your question is basically why is it important to
why
go
is it important? Yes.
to moon?
Yes.
In fact, and why moon is so important for us,
Yeah.
and why should we reach there, and what will we explore there? Moon is extremely important for the humanity since its dawn, in fact, since the dawn of the civilization.
Yeah.
Because we have always dreamt of going to the moon. But scientific expeditions are extremely important for many reasons.
Right.
One of the reasons is that can we colonize moon? That's a major big objective. But why do you want to colonize moon? Resources on Earth are limited. And can we draw resources from other planets? The nearest neighbor of us is moon. So can we exploit the resources there? Are there resources there? These are the questions which are very important. So first thing is, can we exploit resources? Second is, can we colonize it? Can we go there and live there? And are there
Professor Raza, I'm sorry I'm interjecting, and I'm going to ask you, like a lot of viewers who don't have the technical know-how would want to know from you. Isn't colonization a bad word? Should we really use it in the sense of when we are trying to go to moon? And you rightly said, from art to cinema to space and research, moon has always been important for times immemorial.
Absolutely.
But what kind of technical know-how or knowledge do we get? Leading countries like US, Russia and China have already done it. What will India contribute?
India is going to contribute a lot. In fact, we have already contributed a lot vis-a-vis moon. Because we contributed immensely and confirmatory data when our mission went there. That was Chandrayaan-1, and we found for the first time, because scientists till then believed that there cannot be water on moon.
Yes.
There's no water on moon.
Yes.
And all the scientific data and argument showed us that there cannot be water there.
Yeah.
But water was found.
Yes.
And final confirmatory test was India's mission there,
Yes.
which was a big contribution. Now, once we are going to land on the southern part of moon, where a portion is always in dark, technically one should understand it's not like dark on Earth, because here light disperses.
So what does one mean when you say it's dark on the moon? Like
Dark on the moon is like a line.
Okay.
Either it is very, very low temperature and complete darkness.
So it's symbolically dark, you mean to say?
Yes.
Okay.
So, very low temperatures or very high temperatures. There's nothing in between.
There's nothing in between.
It is not like dawn on Earth. धीरे 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 गर्मी बढ़ी, धूप आई,
Right.
आप अच्छा महसूस कर रहे हैं. It doesn't happen.
Right.
It is so those areas which are darker completely, there is a possibility that ice has accumulated there. Why is ice important? There is a lot of ice on Earth. Why are we going to Moon
So I'm
to
going to
find
just
ice?
piece together everything that you've said so far. We were not sure if there is water on Moon. We found water. Then the southern part of Moon, which is dark, quote unquote. Dark does not mean that there is no light. Temperatures are abnormal.
No, there is completely no light.
Completely no light. There's a
Yeah.
complete absence of light. Temperatures are very, very low. And the presence of ice, is that something which can be found there? And now you're coming to the part of the argument that why is it important for us to figure out if there is ice or not? There is ice on Earth.
Yeah, there are two things that the viewer should know.
Sure.
That the water that is being generated on the surface of the Moon where there is light, sunlight, there it evaporates very fast, and if you imagine a big field, football field, then only one drop of water you will get. So it is not usable. But in this area, maybe this water gets accumulated.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay.
That's a hunch.
Yeah.
We don't know.
We don't know.
The other thing is that meteorites keep on hammering Moon surface, which have a lot of ice. So in that area, if meteorites have been hitting that area and water is preserved in the form of ice,
Yeah.
then it's very important. But again, why is it important that we should
Why
find?
is it important for us to figure out whether there is ice or not?
Science tells us each one of us who have passed 10th class that water is H2O,
Yes.
which is hydrogen and oxygen.
Yes.
And hydrogen and oxygen can be used as fuel
Yes.
if you break it down. So it becomes your petrol pump.
Yeah.
The Moon becomes your petrol pump on your way to other places.
Interesting.
Therefore, it's extremely important. But there are other hunches which need to be confirmed. One of them is that those minerals which are found in very small quantity on Earth,
Right.
and can we harness them?
Can we harness them?
the
I'm going to request you to pause there so that all the knowledge that you've shared with our viewers, think about it, what the leading scientist, Mr. Raza, just pointed out. It's important for us to figure out on the southern part of the Moon if there is ice or not. And if there's ice, then is there a possibility that can be used as a fuel? Rare minerals, is that something that humans living on Earth can harness? And of course, India would like to lead on that front as well. I'll come back to Professor Raza and talk more about all these aspects as we continue to the countdown of the launch. Here's a report on lunar mission, the launch vehicle, the spacecraft, and much more. Take a look.
Chandrayaan-3, India's ambitious lunar mission, will lift off from the Satish Dhawan Space Centre in Sriharikota on the 14th of July. If successful, India will become the fourth country to achieve the remarkable feat of landing a spacecraft on the surface of the Moon. As we count down to the big launch day, here are 5 facts about Chandrayaan-3. Chandrayaan-3 is a continuation of India's previous lunar mission, Chandrayaan-2, which ended in failure and tears. The objective is to demonstrate India's capability of soft landing on the Moon by delivering a lander and a rover to the lunar surface. During Chandrayaan-2, the lander crash-landed during descent due to a technical failure. India will be hoping to join an elite list of nations who have actually managed to land on the Moon, that is the United States, erstwhile Soviet Union, and China. The actual launch vehicle Mark III is a 3-stage medium-lift launch vehicle. Christened as the Bahubali of rockets, it's the most powerful rocket ever developed by ISRO. This is what will be used to launch the Chandrayaan-3 spacecraft. LVM-3 consists of 2 solid fuel boosters and a liquid fuel core stage powering it. The solid fuel boosters provide the initial thrust, while the liquid fuel core stage provides the sustained thrust to propel the rocket into orbit. The spacecraft consists of three parts: the lander module, the propulsion module, and a rover. The integrated spacecraft weighs around 3,900 kgs. The main function of the propulsion module is to carry the lander module from launch vehicle injection till the final lunar 100-kilometer circular polar orbit and separate it. The lander will make a soft landing at a specific site on the moon and deploy the rover. The rover in turn will carry out chemical analysis of the lunar surface. The rover will be moving only within a limited range, that is, within the sight of the lander's cameras. All data collected by the rover will be transmitted first to the rover and then to the orbiter and then back to Earth. ISRO is targeting a soft landing sometime in the middle of August. Landing dates are determined based on the availability of sunlight at a particular landing spot. ISRO has designed the Chandrayaan-3 lander and rover to function for 14 Earth days, which amounts to 1 lunar day. After that, it will be a period of 14 Earth days of darkness at the landing site. So the rover and lander will not be able to recharge their batteries during that period. While there have been several moon landings, Chandrayaan-3 will be the first to land on the south pole of the moon. So a successful landing of Chandrayaan-3 on the moon's south pole will be a demonstration of our technical prowess and spacefaring ambitions. The lunar south pole has long held the interest of scientists and space experts because there is a possibility of presence of water there. The rocks and soil in this region could provide clues to the early solar system. This will be the first time that any test would be conducted on the South Pole, so any data and conclusions drawn are set to be studied keenly across the world.
It is indeed watched very keenly across the world. Aren't we all very, very excited ahead of this launch and very hopeful? Yes, there were lessons that were learned from Chandrayaan-2. There are critical differences as well between Chandrayaan-2 and Chandrayaan-3. We'll break down those technical details. What does it mean? But the support has been pouring in from all the quarters. You'd remember Prime Minister last time was personally present when that launch was happening of Chandrayaan-2. This time, he's on a 2-day visit to France. But from there, there's a special message ahead of this highly awaited launch. Listen in.
और आपको खुशी होगी, अभी जब मैं आपसे बात कर रहा हूं, तो भारत में चंद्रयान-3 की चंद्रयान-3 की लॉन्चिंग के लिए रिवर्स काउंटिंग की गूंज सुनाई दे रही है। कुछ ही घंटों बाद भारत के ये ऐतिहासिक लॉन्च होने जा रहा है।
So that historic launch is, I believe, less than an hour away. It's 1:27 p.m. at around 2:30. We're expecting that launch to happen. I want to go back to Professor Raza, who continues to be with us on the broadcast. Sir, I want to understand from you. We all have watched these movies, and I believe in movies only I've seen how a space center really looks like. The months and years of preparations that scientists undertake. It's a big teamwork which is done. But if you were to explain to lesser mortals like us who have not been inside a space research center, what does it involve to launch a mission like this? What kind of preparations, what kind of technical know-how, what does it take to make this possible?
It's a massive question that you have asked. It entails all kinds of things.
Yeah.
In fact, you are asking me to describe history of last 50, 60 years.
I'm sure you can attempt that.
1963,
yes.
We started this mission, but much before that, Soviet Union had started this mission. And step by step, we have mastered this technology. I'm talking about humanity and also our nation.
Yeah.
In fact, we are the fourth one to probably reach the moon and soft land on it. In another 1 month, it'll be, we'll be the fourth country. See, the major things that have happened in this technology are, one, that the basic Newtonian physics was initially used to launch, and that is the bulwark, basically. If you understand that very keenly, then you can launch a rocket. But of course, in a country, one has to have peace, one has to have respect for scientists and scientific science itself. Only then this can happen. You can't imagine Afghanistan launching a mission like this.
Absolutely, yes.
Just because they are not a peaceful country. So the peace, amity, and respect for science is extremely important. In this particular mission, one has already had the first launch on moon, where we hard landed, and hard landed means that you throw something on it.
Okay, so hard landing is when you throw something on the surface, that's hard landing.
And inside you have some payload. After hitting the surface, it opens up, etc. Soft landing would mean that we know the speed, we know how it's going to behave, and goes there, stays there, and lands on the surface, and then it performs what.
So it doesn't hit the surface per se.
It doesn't hit.
That's the difference. That's the technical difference between
That's a
the two.
major
That's a major technical difference.
Technical difference between the two. In this particular mission, what we have achieved up till now is that we have gathered the data already. What was the problem with the last mission?
Yes.
And this was our own data.
Yeah.
Previously, the data which we were using were from other countries, which has been made public, in fact, or shared with most of the agencies. So this time, we are much more wiser as compared to the earlier mission. Here, it's extremely important to understand that in science, there is no failure. A lot of people are saying, Bahubali rocket tha pichli baar bhi. I have a problem with this.
Mr. Gauhar Raza doesn't like the word Bahubali. And he was just telling me when we were rolling some other things that, you know, this is not the best way to describe how this actually functions. But yeah, that's the buzzword, sir, these days. I'll come back to you.
Buzzword on most of the channels.
Most
but
of the channels,
generally, where I come from, Bahubali is a very bad word for people who are bullies, in fact. Our mission is not a bully mission. Our mission is a peaceful mission.
I think at least this generation is deriving that word from movies. That's where most of the words are coming from. But I respect that point, that that's not the best way or appropriate way to describe. My colleagues are also joining us on the broadcast. A quick word from them. Harish is with us on the broadcast from Sriharikota. Harish, we're looking forward to that big launch. What is it that you hear? What is it that you sense? Very eager to see what's happening around you.
Absolutely. We are coming to you live from Sriharikota. The scientists are in one complex. Remember, they've spent sleepless nights, especially over the last few days or so, including the ISRO chairman. All of them have been at Sriharikota. There is a command and tracking center that's in Bengaluru. That also has a lot of buzz. You have a bunch of scientists sitting there. Remember, as soon as launch takes place, the tracking happens in Bengaluru. So multiple places where ISRO is ensuring that they don't leave anything to chance. And finally, now you have the countdown which was started yesterday. In a short while from now, you will see the ignition phase. Remember, it's a 16-minute phase where the ignition will happen, the takeoff will happen, and then finally you will see the satellite getting into the orbit. That's a 16-minute phase. After that, 2-3 crucial phases of this entire launch will take place, whether it's earthbound maneuver that the ISRO has to do, or getting into the lunar trajectory phase, and finally the lunar orbit itself. All these are aspects that the ISRO has successfully done in two missions, whether it's Chandrayaan 1 or Chandrayaan 2, and ISRO saying that we have no doubt that we'll do it this time around as well. It was only with the soft landing that was the challenge for ISRO. But in fact, over the last few weeks, we've been speaking to scientists from ISRO, all of them sounding very confident, saying that Chandrayaan 2 was a much more difficult mission because there were several unknowns, and now perhaps that's lesser because we've already carried out one mission. We've also learned, we've got a lot of data from Chandrayaan 2 on where we went wrong. We've also tried to fix it. We've also have ensured there's a lot more buffer, whether it's strengthening the legs of the lander or ensuring that lander can land even at a slightly higher velocity, and also ensuring that there's more power for lander and the rover. In fact, within the programming and that's used here, the software that's used here for Chandrayaan 3, even there have been adjustments made to ensure that systems are up to date to handle anything that goes slightly different from the plan that is there. So ISRO is saying that we've not just identified mistakes, we've also ensured buffer in every aspect of Chandrayaan 3, and they're very confident that perhaps on August 23rd, by around 5:30ish, you might see a successful soft landing, and that could put ISRO in a different league altogether. It means a lot to ISRO's future plans as well. Remember, this could open up a whole lot of opportunities for ISRO's future projects. ISRO saying, apart from soft landing, there are other crucial experiments that are being carried out, and that too will give us great insights. 6 payloads, many of them on lunar surface, which will be that they'll carry out scientific experiments, whether it's looking at the seismic activity around the area where this lander will land.
Harish, we also have a leading scientist with us on the broadcast, and Mr. Raza was pointing out that there are no failures in science, there are only learnings, and we've learned a lot from Chandrayaan 2. That's what Harish was also pointing out. Harish, please stay with us on the broadcast. I will come back to you and chat more about what's happening there. My colleague Shrishti is also joining us from the newsroom. Shrishti, how important this mission is, the key things to watch out for, the 5W and 1H of Chandrayaan 3. Break it down for us, please.
Yes, so Chandrayaan 3 comes at a very, very crucial time. See, we need to remember that the world is racing to the moon once again. I mean, it's been over 50 years since the first moon landing took place. Now the US, Russia, China and several other countries are now trying to perfect their moon landing, because in the years to come there will be a lunar base set up, and which will act as a gateway for different nations to reach out to other planets, to, you know, which is Mars is the big destination. So as the ISRO chief said, we have perfected our scheme of going to the moon. Now we need to perfect our scheme of landing on the moon. And here I need to mention that it has to be a soft landing. So the lander has to land perfectly near the south pole of the moon. The rover needs to come out and it needs to function for 14 Earth days, which equals to 1 lunar day. Right. Apart from that, see, it's apart from the landing and the capability and the the skill to land, it's also important to note that the science and the research that we are going to get out of is important. There's a lot of data on the moon, which is going to be very crucial for our future missions. ISRO scientists are going to study what consists of the atmosphere on the moon, if there is water there. If you remember in 2008 when we first visited moon, Chandrayaan 1 was the first one to give evidence of water on the moon. That's right. Which was then followed up by other missions. So this is going to be very crucial.
This is going to be very crucial. Shrishti was saying the same thing, sir, that you were talking about some time ago, that moon is in many ways a stopover. If you want to go to other places, if you want to go to Mars or various other missions that you want to carry out. Shrishti, please stay with us on the broadcast. I'm also bringing Mr. Gauhar Raza into the discussion. How critical it is for India to get this right this time. I do get the spirit that there are no failures, and with each impediment there is a prospect of doing better next time for ISRO or for any individual in life. But how critical it is for ISRO this time to get it right?
See, it is always critical to reach the objectives that you have set it right in the beginning of the mission. And these missions are not cheap missions, though India spends much less money on a mission as compared to other countries. But it's extremely important to achieve all the missions for India, because that will advance the both technical and scientific progress of the country. One thing which needs to be understood is that in science, there are failures at the stage of testing which we don't know even about. Right. Because a number of things, in fact, all parts, that constitute this whole mission would have been tested in various conditions. Now, when you are launching a vehicle, the thing is that it achieves extremely high temperatures just because of the friction of the air initially. Then it goes up and encounters almost zero gravity. And once the zero gravity is there, then there's no friction. It's extremely cold.
Right.
Very high speed to very low speed. Very high vibrations to almost calm kind of situation. So all these things have to be tested.
Yeah.
Now, there must have been a large number of failures at the testing stage itself. So scientists are geared and trained to encounter failures. Once you encounter failure, you make the changes, and this time a lot of changes have been made. The fifth engine has been removed from the lander. The vertical speed limit has been increased, and it looks like from 2 meters per second to 3 meters per second, but imagine multiply it and make it into kilometers. It will give you an idea of what is the difference. So there have been a lot of
critical changes
redundancy also has been.
removed.
It's not only the software which has been tampered with, which was major problem
Glitch
last
last time.
time, but also a lot of hardware changes have been made.
Okay. I think Harish is back with us on the broadcast from Sriharikota. Harish, are there people present in large numbers? Usually there is a place at a certain distance from where you can see the launch. Tell us about what you're hearing from the people, the ambience at the place.
Yes, around 6,000 people allowed to be part of this launch. They'll look at it from the... A lot of them, remember, are students, and these are students from various cities, including Hyderabad, from neighboring districts of Tamil Nadu here, and various other places. And ISRO making it a point to ensure that the launch doesn't just get them some great scientific insights in their whole space journey, but also acts as something that will inspire these students, because we were talking to students earlier in the day. Many of them very well read on the kind of payload that's on this, what could be the outcome of it. Others also tracking what's happening in the space sector elsewhere. They're talking about what SpaceX is doing and saying that, well, if India continues on this path, then we might end up there in the next few years. Remember, this year is a significant one for ISRO, whether it's Chandrayaan 3 or handing over technology transfer of satellites to private entities, launch vehicles to private entities, or Gaganyaan, which is currently under works, or the crucial collaboration between NASA and ISRO for NISAR. Multiple crucial events lined up for ISRO in the next year or so, and a lot of space enthusiasts want to be involved. Students are getting inspired, so perhaps this could have a multiplier effect in the coming few years. Unfortunately, we can't go to them. They're in a different gallery. We are at the media center here, but ISRO ensuring that people too get a chance to watch this historic launch.
About 6,000 people have gathered there. I want to cut across to Shrishti as well, who's with us from the newsroom. She's been giving us that perspective. Shrishti, let's talk more about the learnings and how Chandrayaan 3 stands on the learning of Chandrayaan 2, whatever success or failures we had during that time.
Yeah, so though we could not achieve a soft landing from Chandrayaan 2, but it did give us a lot of learnings, as ISRO chairman had earlier told us that, see, the first bit was that this time ISRO has redesigned the sensor system. It added more sensors to it and ensured that the velocity is controlled in a proper way so that a soft landing can be achieved. They've added more fuel to the lander so that in case it has to travel to find a precise landing point, it can. They've added more solar panels to ensure an uninterrupted power supply when it's trying to attempt a soft landing on the moon. And as we earlier discussed, discussed, the orbiter from Chandrayaan-2 helped us in getting perfect images for the moon so that we could select a landing site. So there was a lot of learning process that went over the last 4 years, and like Mr. Somnath had said, that this time the mission team of Chandrayaan-3 had prepared a failure-based design. They wanted to ensure that everything goes well and they did not leave anything out, to ensure that the mission is successful in terms of everything, in terms of science, in terms of data collection, and in terms of showing the capability of a...
Right. As my colleagues get you all the details, Harish, Shrishti and Mr. Raza continue to stay with us on the broadcast. We are also getting you different elements, different things that make up for this big launch. CNN News 18, Harish Upadhyay gets you this exclusive report on ISRO's latest lunar mission, Chandrayaan-3. What does it entail? The 5 major things to watch out for. Take a look at this.
India's ambitious lunar mission, the Chandrayaan-3, is all set to lift off on the 14th of July. If after 6 weeks, Chandrayaan-3 lands successfully on the moon, India will be only the 4th country to achieve the remarkable feat. So a lot is riding on ISRO. After Chandrayaan-2 ended in failure and tears in 2019, ISRO has ensured that Chandrayaan-3 does not repeat the same mistakes of its predecessor. Chandrayaan-3 will carry advanced scientific instruments to study the moon's surface, mineral composition and lunar exosphere, contributing to the overall understanding of our celestial neighbor.
First of all, by that demonstrating this one, India has acquired one more technology of landing in a celestial body. We are able to land. This technology we have gained, we have acquired. This is the big lessons we have. So it will have a future perspective of landing, sometimes man landing on the moon. Like that, many such human presence in space, and that it will be giving very good information. The technology it will give, that is the one point. Second point is scientific the measurements, science part. Yes. And by doing this one, even though we are doing the science about the moon by observing from a particular orbit, and we are doing, now by landing we can do the in situ experiments, the science, in situ science. Yes. That more science we will get it by having such type of missions about the moon for the future generation.
Chandrayaan-3's success will enhance the country's prestige and standing in the global space community. It demonstrates India's scientific and engineering capabilities, contributing to its soft power on the international stage. With Harish Upadhyay in Bengaluru, Chetan Dhalla for CNN News 18.
The entire world is watching us, it's looking at us with much awe, with much hope and enthusiasm. We are counting down to that big launch of the lunar mission Chandrayaan-3. Fingers crossed, all hopes on the scientists who have worked tirelessly to make this success. We also have Mr. Raza with us in the studio. Mr. Raza, talking about merging of sciences, we were talking about what does it take to make this a project of this nature a reality. The lessons that we have learned from Chandrayaan-2 and what is it that we can build upon. India, despite being a country with limited resources, has a lot of respect for the scientific temper, scientific community. And as a nation, we have never doubted our expense per se on the space missions. Yes, we're not spending as much as US, China or any other nations. The scientific temper, I believe, is the backbone why we are able to pursue missions like these. And there's a fascinating point that you were mentioning, which is that a launch of this nature is merging of various sciences. Tell us about that as well.
We as a nation and humanity, both on behalf of both I am talking about, that we have mastered the technology to reach outer spaces. And there are failures And in case of India, the percentage of failure is much lesser as compared to our predecessors, those nations. But now, in India, we need to shift to sciences, which means that ISRO needs to involve, or as a country, we need to involve our universities or colleges and even schools, which is what China has been doing now. China has reached that space.
But space study is not as common in India as one would like it to be.
It should be now. So we have to give a lot of thought to how to involve a very large section of our.
A lot of them go abroad and join different other institutions.
Absolutely, and they do wonders.
The best of the brains come from India. I mean, there's no denial of that.
So now, in today's condition, we cannot think of space missions without thinking about material technology, without thinking about physics, chemistry, mathematics, nanotechnology. And today, people have shifted to even evolutionary biology. Because the brain, how does brain work if you stay for a longer period of time in a space? How does body take it in zero gravity conditions? So the point that I'm trying to make is that India has to go to a shift from only technological marvel to now scientific studies.
To scientific studies and expanding that base, involving our
universities. And a very disturbing news has appeared.
Which is?
Very recently, the Department of Science and Technology for 3 months has not released funds to various projects in the country. In 3 months could cost a lot to a country.
No, and a country that traditionally and historically respects and adores scientific temper.
Absolutely.
It's not a new thing. It's not a modern philosophy in this country.
Absolutely.
We'll continue
from the days of Charvak.
Absolutely, thousands of years. I mean, you go to the oldest of the texts and what you call religious texts in this country. But not just there's an introspection of spirituality, but also the talk of science and innovation, which has been something that we as Indians have always been very excited about. So are we.
There have been Indians who have despised science, who have been anti-science, and there are today Indians who are anti-science, but that is a part.
That's a fringe, right?
By and large, people have respected knowledge in the country. By and large, as compared to many other countries, we have extreme respect for modern scientific knowledge. And this is personal experience. There is no study that I'm quoting, but personal experience of going to various countries. We have a respect, even the lowest of the lowest on the pyramid of economy has a respect for knowledge and education.
And that's the values which are taught in an average Indian middle class home. The most important thing is knowledge and scientific temper. That's what we talk about today. Chandrayaan 3, our focus non-stop here on CNN News 18. My colleague Harish and Shrishti also continue to be with us on the broadcast. We also spoke to the former ISRO chief, K. Sivan, about Chandrayaan 3, the preparedness and much more. Listen into this conversation with Harish Upadhyay.
So September 2019, it almost broke the hearts of the entire nation. We saw the lander crashing. After that, ISRO over the last nearly 4 years or so for this entire team at ISRO.
Basically, this last 4 years, the tremendous work have been done. And the first and foremost one was that in the Chandrayaan 2 landing phase, it was not successful, whereas orbiter mission part is successful. The lander portion was not successful, and from the data what we gathered during that time, that data was analyzed very thoroughly, understood what really went wrong, and now for each problem what we observed, now the corrective actions have been taken. So, and also not only that one, wherever the margins are less. So, the robustness level was increased. We are going ahead last 4 years, these works are done very thoroughly, meticulously, and then the tests have been done very exhaustively and ensure that everything is intact. With this confident, now the ISRO is going for the next mission Chandrayaan 3.
Sir, ISRO has spent a lot of time looking at what went wrong with Chandrayaan 2. What went wrong, sir, according to you? Things that you could explain to the common man.
Basically, that there are some few things, not only one problem, some few things were there in that one. One was this, the propulsion system was, the dispersions in the propulsion system in certain region of the flight was more than what we expected. That means, in that the total landing phase, we had that 4 phases. One is a rough break. It has to come down.
Yes.
Then that the attitude hold phase, then fine braking phase, then landing phase. Like that 4 phases are there. In the rough braking phase, this the propulsion system worked very nicely without any problem. In the attitude hold phase, yes, that time also propulsion system worked very nicely, but the dispersions level, it was sometime more than what we assumed before flight. This was one problem. And because of these dispersions levels were more than expected, the guidance software was not able to handle it properly. So it was misbehaving. Instead of correcting it, instead of reducing the thrust level, it is increased the thrust level. So guidance software misbehaved. Okay. Along with the guidance software misbehavior, this control system also there was a limitation. It's not control system not misbehaved. It is there is a limitation of limiting certain parameters. Less the if it is exceeding certain value, we are clamping the value to a certain level. So that clamping also was less. If all these 3 things combinedly made this landing is a hard landing. If any one was, the issue was not there, the mission would have been success. So there are 3 multiple problems occurred simultaneously in that mission. So that way, that particular mission was, we understood that total data and analyzed the data and understood the problem. Now corrective actions have been taken considering all these issues.
So corrective actions have been taken or the lander, sir, apart from correcting these mistakes that you said that were there.
Yes, yes, that is definitely there are some change improvements were made. That is one is that one is made corrections to overcome the problem what we have seen.
Yes.
Second one is not only that one, it added more redundancies.
Okay.
Sensor redundancies. There is a, suppose in one system is failing, that is so that the data will be taken from other system. This redundancy have been increased. That is one thing. And another one is that is it is the allowable dispersion level is enhanced. Then that lander,
yes,
that leg design have been modified to withstand higher landing velocity also.
Well, getting you more voices, we also spoke to the leading scientist, Mr. Naminarayan, on this. His thoughts on Chandrayaan 3 and the possibility of it being a great success. Listen into this conversation with Anand Narasimhan.
We are on the eve of a historical journey into space for Bharat. Your thoughts? Do you think this time we'll get it right, especially the landing?
Yeah, I hope that it will be a grand success. Because, you know, we have now modified certain things which we learned from the failures of Chandrayaan 2. And so I hope it will be a successful one.
How critical, Naminarayanji, is it, do you think it is for India to establish its credentials as far as space tech is concerned? Do you think we will be able to, you know, if things perchance don't go right?
I personally believe, this is my personal opinion, I personally believe we have no pressure. This is actually, even today, if I really look at it, I am only happy that the entire nation is with us
Yes.
in anticipation of a successful launch. So that way I am happy. But otherwise, as far as today's launch is concerned, it is a normal GSLV launch.
Yes.
But if at all, if there is an anxiety, that should come during the soft landing, which will take place August 23rd or 24th. So that time probably we could be under tension, but we will not be under any pressure.
Where do you see India today in the space race? How competitive are we compared to some of the other nations? There are, entities like NASA now. We are entering into a strategic partnership with them. How significant is that?
No, actually, we are not to be compared with anyone. For various reasons.
Right.
For example, today I can say that we are the fourth nation, namely after the China, Russia and USA. Once we become successful in this mission, we will be the fourth nation. But it doesn't, you see, the whole thing is how far you are on your own. That is what matters as far as we are concerned. That is what is going to bring you the glory as well as investment opportunities. It is good to have collaboration. For example, they are talking about Japan next time.
Yes.
And maybe we may have a collaborative launch with NASA.
Yes. Artemis.
But I feel that everything we learn and on our own, what we do, it matters. What is on our own matters a lot.
But do you think there's far more effort and focus towards research, design, development vis-a-vis space technology and space foray is concerned in the recent years under Prime Minister Modi?
I think so. You see, if you are meaning the private participation, yes, we have certainly created an interest in the minds of the industries. But I think this needs a little more focusing. When I talk to some of the industries, see, for example, they are talking about producing PSLV or that kind of or Vikas engine. But I personally expect them to do something on their own, some innovative idea. For example, somebody can come back and then say that here is a 2-stage vehicle or a 3-stage vehicle which will carry so much of payload. Or supposing if somebody can come out and then say that we are interested in developing LOX methane engine, something like that. That makes sense because you have the facilities available.
Right.
And if somebody can take care of it, ISRO is willing to help them.
Right.
So, but that needs a little bit awareness as well as some kind of a focusing. I hope that is being done. I'm not aware of it, but.
Well, that was leading scientist Nambi Narayan talking about the kind of efforts India has made and what can be expected today ahead of that very, very crucial launch. As the experts and my colleagues have been telling you, lessons have been learnt from the failures of Chandrayaan 2. My colleague Shrishti is with us from the newsroom. She'll talk us through what to expect, what will follow from the next 1 hour. Shrishti, we're counting down to that launch of Chandrayaan 3. Highly anticipated. Harish was telling us that about 6,000 people are present there to watch this event from a certain distance. What kind of preparations? What is it that we're likely to see in the next 1 odd hour?
We are just few minutes away from the launch. So the launch is expected to take place at 2:35 p.m. Everything seems to be going well, and once the rocket is lifted off from Sriharikota, it will be placed into an elliptical orbit around the Earth, and ISRO will confirm if the position is precisely attained. Following that, the spacecraft, the Chandrayaan-3 spacecraft, is going to orbit around the Earth for at least the next few weeks, and it will take about 42 to 45 days to reach Moon. And once it's there, it will be placed into an orbit about 100 kilometers from the Moon surface, and somewhere around in the last week of August, about on a date around August 23rd, the landing would be attempted. So it's a long journey. Over the next 45 days, people are going to really anticipate that India succeeds in this mission. And over the entire process, it's also important to know that it's not just ISRO who's going to track and maintain communication with the spacecraft. There are multiple Earth stations across different countries, from Germany, from US, and various places in Europe, which are going to maintain communication with the spacecraft and share all the data with ISRO. So it's a coordination effort because as the spacecraft remains in space.
All right, and the next 35 minutes, 2:35 that's when it's expected to start the launch. Last time, what we read in the media and how it was simplistically explained was that there was a technical glitch or a software glitch that happened. And we had one expert here in the studio, and he was telling us that this time, not just that quote-unquote software glitch has been addressed, but there are important technological changes that have been made to Chandrayaan-3. What are those changes? If you can simplify that for our viewers, please.
Definitely. So last time when the launch was expected on July 14, 2019, but if you remember, there was a technical glitch just an hour before the launch, and ISRO had to suddenly stop the countdown, and then the launch was rescheduled on July 22nd. Finally, the rocket took off from Sriharikota. And when the landing was supposed to take place, the velocity had come down drastically and it crash landed on the Moon. So what ISRO has done this time is that it has added more sensors on the lander. It has ensured that the velocity comes down gradually. So when I say velocity, that means the speed at which the lander is going to descend on the lunar surface. They have increased the size.
So Srishti, I'm interjecting there. Why is it important for the velocity to come down slowly? Live visuals on your screen right now coming in from ISRO at Sriharikota. That crucial launch is going to happen in just about 30 to 35 minutes from now. Srishti, coming back to you. So why is it important for that velocity to go down gradually? How does that help us?
So see, the Moon has no atmosphere. I'll just correct it. The Moon has an atmosphere, but it's a very weak atmosphere. Yes. So we really need to ensure that the landing takes place in a very controlled manner. The speed at which the lander descends. Now, if the speed is going to be really high, it's going to crash land on the Moon, which is what happened with Chandrayaan-2. Different other countries also faced a similar problem. If you remember, Japan had a lunar mission in April, and it tried to achieve a soft landing, but it could not. So it also suffered a setback just like minutes away from the landing process. So those last few minutes are going to be very crucial, and which is why this capability is going to be very important if India is able to really achieve it this time, and ISRO is very confident. So we also hope that we are able to achieve that milestone this time.
We are able to achieve that milestone this time. The manner in which we wanted the landing to happen last time, it could not happen. Look at those visuals. About 6,000 people are present there. It must be a delight to watch it with your naked eyes, and of course they're watching it from a distance, but the mood there, the atmosphere there. Interestingly, Shrishti, I saw those visuals on social media where the scientists had also gone to a temple to take some blessings before this much important launch. You do need divine blessings to land on the Moon in any way possible.
Scientists are anyways humans, so they do pray and they do hope. But yes, science does believe, science relies on facts and how accurately we are able to do what we have set out to achieve for. Yeah. But yes, wishes and blessings could be probably prove helpful for the scientists at ISRO.
Indeed, is there a lot of pressure to be successful this time, Shrishti? I mean, each time there is money which is involved, there's investment, there's human hours, and the grueling work that the scientists put in including that in Chandrayaan 2. And this one, by all means, will be a successful one. All the best wishes to the scientists and the scientific community in this country who has worked tirelessly for this mission. But indeed, the pressure must be very, very high.
Definitely. See, apart from all the hard work, there's a lot of money that has gone into this mission. About 615 crore has been pumped into the entire mission to ensure that it's successful. Apart from that, the timing is also very important. See, the moon landing, we are trying a moon landing just a year before the US is planning to moon. Both US on one side and Russia and China on the other side are are working towards establishing a permanent lunar base over the next decade. The US is targeting a lunar base somewhere around 2030, while Russia and China are planning it around 2035. And a sustainable presence on the moon. Now, this is going to be very crucial over the years because all the countries are now ensuring that they explore space and the next big destination, which is Mars. Now, if ISRO is able to achieve this capability, it can offer, it can participate in the whole big lunar economy, which is going to be very crucial in the years to come.
I really like that word, Shrishti, that you're talking about, lunar economy. Is there so much to harness from it, and what is it that India can do in that area? Shrishti will continue to remain with us on the broadcast. These are live visuals coming in from the ISRO headquarters from the Sriharikota. That crucial launch of Chandrayaan 3 will happen. The countdown has already begun. It's 2:10, about 2:35 p.m. is when we are expecting. You can see dignitaries. You have Mr. Jitendra Singh, the minister. Various other top dignitaries are present there. All of us watching keenly on our television screen or on the YouTube here. This remains our top focus. Let's also listen in to what G. Somnath, the chairperson of ISRO, had to say ahead.
The ability to handle parameter variation or dispersion was very limited. So what we did this time is simply expand that further. Look at what are things that can go wrong. So we, instead of success-based design in Chandrayaan 2, we are doing a failure-based design in Chandrayaan 3. What all can fail and how to protect it. So this is the approach that we are taking. So for that we did many things. One, we expanded the area of landing 0.5 kilometer by 0.5 kilometer to 4 kilometer by 2.5 kilometer. Anywhere it can land. So it doesn't limit you to target a specific point. It will target a specific point only in nominal conditions. 4 kilometer by 2.5 kilometer. And there is one benefit from Chandrayaan 2, that Chandrayaan 2 had a very high resolution camera on board. It's called orbital high resolution camera. This camera gave very good pictures, almost 28 centimeter high resolution image of the entire moon. With that, we were able to find out the landing site much better way than last time.
Shrishti, what is lunar economy? Is it just about having moon as the launch pad so you can go to the Mars, another farther away planet, explore other galaxies? And what can India do in terms of making this economy, quote unquote, viable?
See, apart from moon being a destination for scientists to understand the origin of this universe and maybe unravel a lot of mysteries from the space which we want to understand, moon is critically important in terms of the space economy, in terms of lunar economy. That is the word that is now being used. First, there are a lot of critical elements present in the lunar atmosphere and in the lunar surface. So the surface of the moon is basically called regolith, which traps a lot of critical elements, and in the years to come, maybe the countries could explore mining of these elements on the lunar surface. So that is why different countries are now trying to understand which all minerals are there, which all elements are there, and if mining is possible. Second, water is also a critical resource on moon, which is part of this lunar economy, and countries across the world are now trying to understand if water is present and in what form it is present, can we access it. Let's say if a lunar base is set up on the moon and our astronauts are going to be there, so they would need water and they would need resources. So instead of taking those resources from Earth, they could use it from the lunar surface. And as like you rightly mentioned, it's also like a launch pad for launching further interplanetary missions to Mars, because it requires a lot of fuel, it requires a lot of energy and a lot of time if the rocket is being launched from Earth. But if we have a base on the moon, it could be easier to reach Mars. So this is the big lunar economy, and the major players are the US, Russia, China, Japan. Even South Korea has planned a moon mission, and the UAE also tried this year, but it could not succeed in achieving a moon landing.
All right, Shrishti, stay with us on the broadcast. We spoke to various people concerned, experts in this field, and industry plays a very important role, especially the industry that supplies critical components for Chandrayaan, including the Vikas engine. Listen into some voices coming in.
So, sir, if you could just explain us as to how this Vikas engine is made, what is exactly the process, how it's followed, and how does your team work towards the engine?
Right. We have been working with ISRO since 1985, as rightly put. One of the main workhorses and the hardware for which is manufactured at Godrej Aerospace since almost 2 decades now. Similar engine will be going up tomorrow. Vikas engine is largely made up of steel, and the process starts with cutting the sheets on the laser and then rolling them into various shapes, welding, and then creating the thrust chamber, as we call it. And then on the thrust chamber there are many other machine components like pumps, turbines, which are assembled. What we do is we manufacture as per the design given by ISRO, and then do a sub-assembly, and a sub-assembled hardware is then supplied to LPSC, where it is integrated into the stage.
Well, that's the voice coming in from the industry, the live visuals coming in from ISRO. Shrishti continues to chat with us ahead of this crucial launch of Chandrayaan 3. Shrishti, talking about Chandrayaan 2 and the lessons that were learned from it, a lot of learning serves as the base for Chandrayaan 3. Could you simplify, could you decode that for us?
There was a lot of learning from Chandrayaan 2, ISRO chairman had earlier told us that this time the mission team has prepared a failure-based design. They try to find out what all can go wrong and try to fix it before it can even happen. They've added more sensors to the lander to ensure that it achieves a precise landing. They have added more fuel to it, so that it can travel in case it doesn't find a precise landing point. They have added more solar panels to ensure there's an uninterrupted power supply, and most importantly they've added a lander hazard detection system, so that if it senses that something is going wrong, it can fix it even before anything wrong happens there. And they have increased the area for the landing site on the lunar surface as well. It's important to note that we are trying to achieve a landing near the south pole of the moon, which basically sets Chandrayaan 3 apart from various other missions being planned across the world. And south pole is going to be important because this is a relatively unexplored site which no other country has gone there before. Yeah. ISRO is hoping that maybe it will be able to get more data on presence of water which could be trapped in the surface of the moon, and unravel mysteries related to the surface, to the atmosphere of the moon near the south pole.
So, Shrishti, the south of the moon, it's pitch dark, there's no light there. We had Dr. Raza with us some time ago on the broadcast, and he was saying that we're trying to figure out if there is ice which is present on the south of the moon. Why is it that the southern part of the moon remains a mystery to the humankind?
See, we need to understand that it's the south pole of the moon which is relatively dark, which is relatively cold, because not much sunlight reaches there, and even if the sun comes, it's near the horizon. So the amount of light is very low, which is why the temperature near the south pole tends to go very down. And which makes it difficult for any country to plan a mission to the South Pole, because any spacecraft which lands near that region would require an uninterrupted power supply, and the power supply will only come from the solar light, which becomes a bit of a problem. But South Pole has a lot of data, and it's crucial because, like we said, that scientists are hoping that they can find ice trapped in the surface of the lunar surface, and there are more chances of ice being there because the temperatures are low, and the water, in case it's there, would be available in the form of ice. Moon is critically, it's a vast space which has not been explored. It has a weak atmosphere. Scientists are really intrigued by the point that even if it doesn't, if the atmosphere is weak and the water is present, why it's not really escaping into space. So there are a lot of questions that need to be answered. There are a lot of things that scientists want to understand, and all this mystery is really near the south pole of the moon, which ISRO has targeted. And I'll just also tell our viewers that the US is also planning the mission near the south pole of the moon, and that is what NASA is targeting. So a lot of answers are really hidden in that region.
Yes, a lot of mysteries are hidden in that region, and it's important to explore that region because we're trying to figure out if moon can be the launch pad to various other
team for range, launch vehicles, spacecraft and tracking. The automatic launch sequence is scheduled to begin at T, as a part of which the most critical control system elements are checked for the launch vehicle.
Minus 17 minutes.
Very close to the launch time, control will be passed on to the onboard computers.
व्यूअर्स गैलरी दर्शकों से खचाखच भरी हुई। VLCC रॉजर। बहुत भारी संख्या में यहाँ लोग उपस्थित हुए हैं। आप सभी का हार्दिक स्वागत है सतीश धवन अंतरिक्ष केंद्र में।
Enthusiastic viewers from all across the country gathering at Satish Dhawan Space Center Launch View Gallery for witnessing this historic moment of Chandrayaan 3 launch. The countdown for LVM-3 M4 Chandrayaan 3 mission has lasted for 25.5 hours. It was commenced on 1:30 p.m. yesterday. During countdown, the launch vehicle stages are serviced with propellants. Gas bottles meant for stage operations are charged. While the Earth storable propellant filling was concluded more than 16 hours ago, the cryogenic propellants
अभी कंफर्म किया गया है। व्हीकल डायरेक्टर श्री बीजूसी थॉमस ने ऑटोमेटिक लॉन्च सीक्वेंस शुरू कर दिया है। अब यह लॉन्च व्हीकल LVM-3 M4 रॉकेट ऑटोमेटिक लॉन्च सीक्वेंस के अंतर्गत है। इसका मतलब ऑनबोर्ड कंप्यूटर पूरी तरह स्वचालित हो चुका है।
We are very close to the launch, and the day of launch wind biasing data is fed during the countdown to the onboard computers to enable more atmosphere. Up next, we will watch a curtain raiser video on this mission.
Number 465, request CGSS to confirm supply of GN2 to cryo.
Moon. This familiar object in the night sky has inspired the imagination.
That's a special video being played out at Sriharikota at the ISRO, at the Satish Dhawan Space International Center. And there you can see they're talking about Chandrayaan 3 mission. It's just a few minutes from now that we'll have that launch of Chandrayaan 3. The southern area of Moon is one area that we want to explore, and we want to find out more about that area, how Moon and the lunar economy can be a launch pad to figure out the mysteries of the universe, to explore other planets in the solar system, other galaxies and universe that exist. That's the ambitious plan and idea for any kind of space research organization or the space expedition that the humankind has undertaken. Let's try and dip into the audio and listen into this video.
India, a major spacefaring nation, has conducted a detailed exploration of the moon through its Chandrayaan program. The country has sent 2 robotic spacecraft to orbit the moon and to take a repeated look at its surface. Chandrayaan-1 demonstrated India's ability to reach the surface of the moon at a place and time of its choice. And with it, India became the 4th country to reach the surface of the moon in November 2008. Besides, Chandrayaan-1's conclusive discovery of water on the moon in 2009 was praised as a path-breaking discovery. The follow-on mission, Chandrayaan-2, had an orbiter, a lander called Vikram, and a rover named Pragyan. In the past 4 years, the orbiter has repeatedly observed the lunar surface and even today is working satisfactorily. Now, 3,900 kilograms Chandrayaan-3 spacecraft is being sent to the moon with the objective of making yet another focused attempt to slowly land on the lunar surface and to explore it with the help of a rover. Following the spacecraft launched by India's most capable rocket, LVM-3, the Chandrayaan-3 lander carrying a rover within it will be carried into an orbit around the moon by the propulsion module. A little later, the lander will separate from that module and will attempt to make a soft landing in the south polar region of the moon. This region is of intense interest as it has many permanently shadowed craters which could contain water ice and precious minerals. Chandrayaan-3 lander has 4 scientific instruments or payloads, of which one will study the moonquakes, while the other one studies as to how the surface of the moon allows heat to flow through it. The third one will study the plasma environment near the moon's surface. And the fourth instrument will enable scientists to measure the distance between the Earth and Moon very accurately. The 2 instruments on the rover help us study the composition of the moon's surface using X-rays and laser respectively. While the lander and rover will be in direct contact with each other, the propulsion module circling the moon will observe the light coming from Earth, the only planet which we know which is definitely teeming with life. This observation will help in understanding the nature of distant planets circling stars other than the Sun. As Chandrayaan-3 undergoes important tests and gears up for launch, thousands of ISRO scientists, including those who will launch it, control it, and receive the precious scientific information from it using giant dish antennas, are readying themselves for the challenging tasks ahead. In the past, their dedication and skill have enabled India to earn praise from across the world and made it proud. Let us wish them well in this great endeavor called Chandrayaan-3.
Sriharikota from the ISRO headquarters. You have the scientists who have worked tirelessly on this mission sitting there in anticipation. All preparations have been made. About 6,000 people have gathered to watch this historic feat. The team of women scientists at ISRO have been the backbone of that institution. They were very crucial in Chandrayaan-2 mission, in various other space expeditions that India has undertaken. And the scientists, the women scientists at ISRO, are a critical, crucial part of this very important mission, Chandrayaan-3. Those are the live visuals coming in from Sriharikota. Let's try and listen in to the history of Chandrayaan. Chandrayaan-1, 2 and the third one. Let's dip into the audio.
During the mission life of around 10 months, Chandrayaan-1 had mapped the minerals on lunar surface, acquired 70,000 images to help create 3D atlas of moon, and what's more, found water on moon's polar regions. Chandrayaan-2, launched by LVM-3 M1 on 22nd of July 2019 consisted of lunar orbiter, lander named Vikram, and rover named Pragyan. The orbiter is still providing insightful scientific information through its payloads like spectrometers, synthetic aperture radar, and cameras.
चंद्रयान 3 की चंद्रमा की सतह में उतरने के इस मिशन को कुल 10 चरणों में पूरा किया जाएगा। संक्षेप में यह इस प्रकार है। सर्वप्रथम चंद्रयान 3 को LBM-3 प्रमोचक रॉकेट द्वारा पृथ्वी की एलिप्टिकल टारगेट ऑर्बिट, जो कि 170 बाई 36,500 किलोमीटर की ऑर्बिट है, उसमें प्रमोचित किया जाएगा। वहां से चंद्रयान में मैन्यूवर कर पृथ्वी की गुरुत्वाकर्षण की सहायता से चंद्रयान की गति को वृद्धि की जाएगी। फिर चंद्रयान पृथ्वी की कक्षा से निकलकर चंद्रमा की कक्षा में जाएगा। चंद्रमा की कक्षा में जाते ही उसमें फिर से मैन्यूवर कर चंद्रमा की 100 किलोमीटर की वृत्ताकार कक्षा में स्थापित किया जाएगा। फिर सही समय आने पर लैंडर मॉड्यूल को प्रोपल्शन मॉड्यूल से पृथक कर दिया जाएगा। यह आप अपनी स्क्रीन पर देख पा रहे हैं, यह है प्रोपल्शन मॉड्यूल। प्रोपल्शन मॉड्यूल का मुख्य उद्देश्य है लैंडर तथा रोवर को पृथ्वी की कक्षा से चंद्रमा की कक्षा में, जो कि 100 किलोमीटर की वृत्ताकार कक्षा होगी, उसमें उचित अभिवृत्ति में लैंडर मॉड्यूल को अपने से पृथक कर चंद्रमा की सतह पर भेजना है। ऐसा करने के लिए इसमें MMH और MON का प्रयोग कर 440 न्यूटन के थ्रस्टर्स वाले इंजन लगे हुए हैं। इसमें आवश्यक संचार सुविधाएं भी उपलब्ध हैं।
Speaking about the major milestones in Moon, the spacecraft consists of propulsion module, lander, and rover. Lander is planned to touch down at south pole of Moon. The major 10 phases of the mission are: the first phase, called the Earth-centric phase, comprises of pre-launch, launch, ascent, and earthbound maneuver. While the second phase is the lunar transfer phase, as the name suggests, the Chandrayaan spacecraft moves closer to the Moon. Next 8 phases are in the Moon orbit. The third being the lunar orbit insertion, followed by the moon-bound maneuvers phase, which mark the fourth phase. And next it is now that the propulsion module separates from the lunar module when 100 by 100 circular orbit of the Moon is achieved. The Chandrayaan 3 in its 6th phase carries out D-boost 100 kilometers to 100 by 30 kilometers orbit, followed by the pre-landing phase as 7th phase, and then the most awaited landing phase takes place.
आपके सामने है मिशन नियंत्रण कक्ष का दृश्य। सभी सेंटर डायरेक्टर्स अपने स्क्रीन पर देख रहे हैं कि ऑटोमेटिक लॉन्च सीक्वेंस किस तरह पूरा हो रहा है। दर्शक दीर्घा भी इस इंतजार पे। प्रमोशन से हम 5 मिनट की दूरी पर हैं।
-5 minutes.
Most of you might recall the Chandrayaan 2 mission and the intense moments when all the enthusiastic Indians were waiting for the moon. The launch view gallery with the overwhelming crowd of visitors.
पूरे दर्शक दीर्घा यहाँ बहुत उत्साहित। मौसम में थोड़ी परेशानी हो सकती है, लेकिन सब अपनी सुविधाओं के साथ में यहाँ उपस्थित हुए हैं।
We are close to 4 minutes from the scheduled launch time.
-4 minutes.
Gaining from the heritage of Chandrayaan 2, the Chandrayaan 3 is upgraded in several aspects for the enhanced robustness through extensive ground tests and simulation.
Onboard computer in flight mode.
ऑटोमेटिक लॉन्च सीक्वेंस जारी है। इस दौरान सभी संचार तंत्रों की स्वास्थ्य जांच, बैटरी आवेशन पूर्ण किया जा चुका है। कुछ अंतिम गतिविधियां जैसे ऑनबोर्ड कंप्यूटर पर रियल टाइम प्रोग्राम लोड करना, पायरो लाइन को आर्म मोड में लाना, गैस टैंक का अंतिम आवेशन, और यह सभी घटनाएं संतोषजनक तरीके से पूर्ण की जा रही हैं।
-3 minutes.
अब हम उड़ान से 3 मिनट की दूरी पर हैं। प्रमोशन तथा इस प्रमोशन की घटनाक्रम को पहले ही बताया जा चुका है। सर्वप्रथम दोनों S200 स्ट्रैप-ऑन बूस्टर प्रज्वलित किए जाएंगे T0 पर।
Pre-flight pressurization of the hydrogen tank commenced.
S200 के प्रज्वलन के 108 सेकंड के पश्चात L110 जो कि
-2 minutes.
तरल नोदक पर आधारित चरण है, इसका प्रज्वलन शुरू कर दिया जाएगा। L110 के प्रज्वलन के पश्चात करीब 137 सेकंड पर S200 बूस्टर्स को यान से पृथक कर दिया जाएगा।
We are close to 1.5 minutes from the scheduled launch time.
सभी दर्शकों को ज्ञात है यह एक ऐतिहासिक मिशन होने वाला है। पूरे भारतवर्ष की आंखें इसमें हैं। इस यादगार पल के लिए यहाँ सब उपस्थित
-1 minute.
अब हम उड़ान से 1 मिनट की दूरी पर
-45 seconds. -50 seconds.
All sequencers armed. Stage ready.
-45 seconds. -40 seconds.
L110 VHPP open. MOV 79 open.
-33 seconds. -30 seconds.
Real-time programs activated.
-25 seconds.
L110 VSPP open.
-20 seconds. -15. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Plus 5 seconds.
Liftoff normal. P1
Here
tracking.
we have a majestic liftoff of LVM-3 M4 rocket carrying India's prestigious Chandrayaan 3 spacecraft.
P2 tracking.
प्रज्वलन और सफलतापूर्ण उत्थापन LVM-3 M4। यह भीमकाय रॉकेट आसमान को चीरते हुए अपनी भयानक दहाड़ से चारों ओर कंपन उत्पन्न कर रहा है। इसे हम यहाँ महसूस कर सकते हैं और यही दहाड़ है जो वैज्ञानिकों को रोमांचित करती है। LVM-3 के उत्थापन के साथ ही हमारे अंतरिक्ष यान चंद्रयान 3 की चंद्रमा की यात्रा प्रारंभ हो चुकी है।
As the rocket is soaring through the clear skies, every second moving closer to the accomplishment of the most important milestone in its mission to moon. Every Indian witnessing the launch live is content with the feeling of watching history in the making.
चंद्रमा की सतह पर अपना छाप छोड़ने के लिए चंद्रयान 3 अपने मिशन को पूरा करने निकल चुका है। वर्तमान में दोनों S200 स्टेप ऑन बूस्टर सामान निष्पादन करते हुए अपनी निर्दिष्ट कक्षा की ओर बढ़ रहे हैं।
The S200 motors thrusting simultaneously, generating a peak thrust of close to 6,000 kilonewtons in vacuum. They are made of HTPB-based solid propellant, 204.5 tons in each strap-on. Close to 2 tons of propellant being burnt each second.
S200 स्ट्रैप-ऑन बूस्टर्स का कुल प्रज्वलन काल 126 सेकंड का है और अभी घोषणा की गई L110 स्टेज का भी प्रज्वलन शुरू हो चुका है।
Apart from the strap-ons, the core stage has also commenced its operation. This stage, based on combination
200 stages are separated
of hypergolic earth storable liquid propellants UH25 and N2O4. Now the S200s have been separated.
सर इस यान से S200 स्ट्रैप-ऑन बूस्टर्स को सफलतापूर्वक पृथक कर दिया गया है। यह काम सेपरेशन मोटर्स की मदद से किया जाता है। इसके बाद L110 तरल नोदक पर आधारित और विकास इंजन के साथ यह चरण सामान्य निष्पादन करता हुआ अपनी उद्दिष्ट कक्षा की ओर बढ़ रहा है। अभियान क्लोज लूप गाइडेंस के अंतर्गत है।
L110 stage performance normal.
The trajectory of launch vehicle is closely following the prediction.
Payload fairing separated.
जी हाँ, पेलोड फेयरिंग को पृथक कर दिया गया है यान से क्योंकि 0.8 किलोमीटर की ऊंचाई प्राप्त कर चुका है। इस चरण का कुल प्रज्वलन काल 200 सेकेंड होता है और इस दौरान यह करीब 1600 किलो न्यूटन का प्रणोद उत्पन्न करता है।
We are 220 seconds past the launch time. Current altitude is 135 kilometers. In the 200 seconds of its operation, the L110 stage carries the rocket up to 175.5 kilometers altitude and imparts a relative velocity of 4.18 kilometers per second. That is 250 kilometers every minute.
L110 stage performance normal.
LVM-3M4 रॉकेट का द्वितीय चरण पूर्णतः सामान्य निष्पादन करते हुए इस चरण में कुल 113 टन के तरल नोदक भरे जाते हैं। N2O4 तथा UH25 अर्थ स्टोरेबल प्रोपेलेंट को ईंधन के रूप में प्रयोग किया जाता है इस चरण में।
Stage ignition is authorized.
अगला चरण C25 का प्रज्वलन भावी है।
Plus 5 minutes. L110 stage thrust cut off and separated to C25 ignition command. 25 ignition confirmed.
That's a piece of really good news that the third stage has started its operation. The C25 stage has been ignited.
जी हाँ, एक बहुत ही जटिल प्रक्रिया होती है क्रायो इंजन और इसके प्रज्वलन के साथ ही तालियों की गड़गड़ाहट से गूंज उठा है मिशन नियंत्रण कक्ष। तृतीय चरण C25 वर्तमान में प्रणोद उत्पन्न कर रहा है। पूर्णतः सामान्य, सभी तंत्र पूर्णतः सामान्य हैं।
118 kilonewtons thrust in vacuum is what this stage develops with its 28.6 tons propellant combination of liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen. Present altitude is
performance normal.
तृतीय और यह अंतिम चरण है इस यान का C-25। यह क्रायो ईंधन पर आधारित चरण है जिसमें लिक्विड हाइड्रोजन, लिक्विड ऑक्सीजन का इस्तेमाल होता है। इसमें कुल 28 टन का क्रायो ईंधन पूरी सुरक्षा तथा सावधानी के साथ भरा जाता है। इस चरण में 186 किलोन्यूटन का प्रणोद उत्पन्न होता है और यह करीब 640 सेकंड तक प्रज्वलित रहेगा। इसमें दिशा नियंत्रण के लिए इंजन जिम्बल का इस्तेमाल किया जाता है। क्रायो ईंधन का विशिष्ट आवेग 446 सेकंड के करीब होता है।
Currently, the rocket is at an altitude of 210 kilometers.
Plus 7 minutes.
While there is no much variation in altitude, this stage will add to the relative velocity immensely.
Cryo stage
आइए
performance
अब आपको
normal.
पेलोड के बारे में जानकारी देते हैं। लैंडर मॉड्यूल्स पे कई वैज्ञानिक प्रयोगों के लिए पेलोड्स लगाए गए हैं।
India's prestigious lunar landing spacecraft Chandrayaan 3 moving closer to its intended injection spot in the orbit. The propulsion module provides propulsion for earthbound maneuvers, translunar injection, and moonbound orbits. It also has a payload to study the spectral and polarimetric measurements of Earth and lunar orbit. The abbreviated name of the payload is SHAPE. Among the payloads of the lander module, the following are included. A landwehr probe called Rambha to measure the near-surface plasma density, that is the density of ions and electrons, and its changes with time. The second payload is Chandra's Surface Thermophysical Experiment, or CHASTE, to measure thermal properties of lunar surface near polar regions. To measure the seismicity around the landing site and delineating the structure of the lunar crust and mantle, payload ILSA is there. The rover, after its descent, will further the scientific study objectives through its own payloads. For better understanding of chemical and mineralogical composition of lunar surface, LIBS, or laser-induced breakdown spectroscope, is included. Another payload is the alpha particle X-ray spectrometer.
जी हाँ, लैंडर मॉड्यूल 3 पेलोड हैं, रोवर में 2 और प्रोपल्शन मॉड्यूल में 1 पेलोड भेजा गया है। चंद्रयान 3 के स्वदेशी लैंडर और रोवर में नितभारों का इस्तेमाल किया जा रहा है। यह अंतर्ग्रही मिशन के लिए भी आवश्यक तकनीकों का प्रदर्शन करेंगे। लैंडर के पास यह क्षमता है कि वह चंद्रमा की उबड़-खाबड़ सतह में भी बड़ी सावधानी से उतर सकेगा और रोवर को बाहर लाने के लिए और संचार सुविधाएं प्रदान करने के लिए सक्षम होगा। चंद्रयान 3 के लैंडर और रोवर में कुल 6 नितभार हैं। रेडियो एस्ट्रोनॉमी ऑफ मून बाउंड हाइपर सेंसिटिव आयनोस्फीयर एंड एटमॉस्फेयर, जिसे शॉर्ट में रंभा कहा जाता है, यह चंद्रमा की सतह के पास प्लाज्मा के घनत्व तथा समय के साथ बदलाव का मापन करेगा। इसके बाद चंद्र सरफेस थर्मोफिजिकल एक्सपेरिमेंट चंद्रमा के ध्रुवीय सतह के आसपास की थर्मल प्रॉपर्टीज का मापन करेगा। इंस्ट्रूमेंट फॉर ल्यूनर सिस्मिक एक्टिविटी लैंडिंग साइट के आसपास के क्षेत्र में भूकंप जैसी गतिविधियों का पता लगाएगा। रोवर में चंद्रमा की सतह के तत्वात्मक विश्लेषण के लिए लेजर इंड्यूस्ड ब्रेकडाउन स्पेक्ट्रोस्कोप और अल्फा पार्टिकल एक्सरे स्पेक्ट्रोस्कोप इसका इस्तेमाल किया जा रहा है। एक बहुत ही दिलचस्प वैज्ञानिक नितभार है शेप स्पेक्ट्रोपोलैरिमेट्री ऑफ हैबिटेबल प्लैनेट अर्थ, जो कि चंद्रमा से पृथ्वी से परावर्तित नियर इंफ्रारेड किरणों का विश्लेषण दूसरे जीवन सहायक ग्रहों को खोजने में मदद करेगा। वर्तमान में C-25 इंजन कार्यरत है और पूर्णतः सामान्य प्रदर्शन कर रहा है। अब हम प्रमोशन से 700 सेकंड की दूरी पर आ चुके हैं। सापेक्ष गति 6.5 किलोमीटर प्रति सेकंड, ऊंचाई 191 किलोमीटर।
As we have told you about the Chandrayaan 3's upgrades in the aspects of enhanced robustness through extensive ground tests and simulation. During the last phase of landing, the module will have a vertical velocity of less than 1 meter per second and a horizontal velocity of less than 0.5 meters per second from a height of 3 meters. The lander legs are designed to be robust enough to thrive the impact. The cameras are tuned to take pictures ahead of the landing and enable intelligent decision-making for choice of best location to land, avoiding craters and boulders on lunar surface.
Normal.
The successive pictures will also enable the craft to determine its horizontal and vertical velocity in real time. Laser Doppler velocity sensor is an upgrade in Chandrayaan 3 over its predecessor. It helps to determine instantaneous velocity of craft. Insights into the behavior of Chandrayaan 2 in the last few minutes of its descent has revealed to the scientists the necessity for upgrade in the guidance algorithm. Inputs from various sensors are used by the autonomous navigation guidance algorithm of Chandrayaan 3 to plan the flight path to the most suitable landing spot. The engines of Chandrayaan 3 are capable of more gradual throttling also.
वर्तमान में हम मिशन से 817 सेकंड की दूरी पर आ चुके हैं। करीब 950 सेकंड पर तृतीय चरण क्रायोजेनिक इंजन को शट ऑफ कर दिया जाएगा। और उचित अभिवृद्धि प्राप्त कर चंद्रयान 3 को यान से पृथक कर दिया जाएगा। चंद्रयान 3 को LVM-3 M4 द्वारा एलिप्टिकल पार्किंग ऑर्बिट में लॉन्च करने के पश्चात 170 किलोमीटर की पेरिजी पर क्रमशः 5 बार मैन्यूवरिंग कमांड दिया जाएगा। 5वीं बार में यह पृथ्वी से चंद्रमा की ओर प्रस्थान करेगा, जिसे हम ल्यूनर ट्रांसफर ऑर्बिट के नाम से जानते हैं। फिर 5 अगस्त 2023 को यह चंद्रमा की कक्षा में प्रवेश करेगा और फिर क्रमशः 5 मैन्यूवरिंग के पश्चात प्रोपल्शन मॉड्यूल चंद्रमा की 100 किलोमीटर की वृत्ताकार कक्षा में स्थापित हो जाएगा। यहाँ यह उचित समय और अभिवृद्धि में लैंडर मॉड्यूल को पृथक करेगा और 23 अक्टूबर 2023 को चंद्रमा की सतह पर लैंडिंग की प्रक्रिया शुरू की जाएगी।
Plus 15 minutes.
We have come close to 900 seconds after the launch. Currently, the C-25 stage is thrusting. Current relative velocity is 9.29 kilometers per second.
जी हाँ, कुछ ही क्षणों में हम देखेंगे तृतीय चरण LVM-3 M4 रॉकेट का चंद्रयान को उद्दिष्ट कक्षा की ओर ले जा रहा है और उद्दिष्ट कक्षा प्राप्त होते ही चंद्रयान 3 को अंतक्षेपित कर दिया जाएगा।
Cryo stage thrust cutoff. Satellite injection condition is achieved.
अभी पुष्टि की गई चंद्रयान 3 को प्रमोशन की कक्षा प्राप्त कर ली गई है।
Chandrayaan 3 satellite separated.
चंद्रयान 3 को सफलतापूर्वक अंतक्षेपित कर दिया गया है एलिप्टिकल पार्किंग ऑर्बिट पर।
Chandrayaan 3 has attained a major milestone
LVM-3
successfully.
M4 Chandrayaan 3 mission accomplished. Handing over to mission director.
This is mission director. The LVM-3 M4 Chandrayaan mission accomplished its precise satellite injection conditions. LVM-3 M4 mission is successful. Jai Hind.
The launch has also added a feather in the cap of LVM-3 rocket. You can watch of ISRO scientists in the mission control center.
जी हाँ, चंद्रयान को सफलतापूर्वक अंतक्षेपित कर दिया गया है, लेकिन चंद्रयान 3 की यात्रा अभी जारी है। अब इस मिशन के बारे में हम अध्यक्ष महोदय से सुनेंगे और हम आपसे आज्ञा लेते हैं।
We sign off. Up next is address by Secretary DOS, Chairman ISRO.
Congratulations, India. Chandrayaan 3 has started its journey towards moon. Our dear LVM-3 has already put Chandrayaan 3 craft into the precise orbit around Earth. 170 by 36,500 kilometers was its intended target orbit, and it is precisely there now. And let us wish all the best for the Chandrayaan 3 craft to make its further orbit racing maneuvers and travel towards moon in the coming days. So let me wish all the very best to Chandrayaan 3 for its further journey towards moon. Before that, let me introduce the team behind this mission, the mission director, Mr. Mohan Kumar, and also the project director of LVM-3. And we have also the mission director for the Chandrayaan 3 craft, the project director of Chandrayaan 3, Veera Muthuvel. So over to them, Mohan.
Thank you, sir. Honorable Minister of State for Science and Technology and Departments of Space and Atomic Energy, Dr. Jitendra Singh, respected Chairman ISRO and Secretary Department of Space, former secretaries of the department, invited dignitaries, respected dignitaries and invitees, I am very happy to report here that the LVM-3 M4 vehicle has injected the Chandrayaan 3 satellite to the precise orbit, and once again the vehicle is proved to be the most reliable heavy lift vehicle of Indian Space Research Organization. Congratulations to the teamwork of ISRO family. I would like to appraise three things here. The vehicle systems are in the, especially in the event of our human rating efforts towards making the systems reliable. Secondly, the payload also, capability of the payload also is improved by mission strategies as well as vehicle engineering approaches. We are in the process of increasing the launch frequency of this vehicle considering the national requirements as well as satellite demands. Here, so many improvements we have incorporated in this vehicle. For example, the S200 nozzle, they are processed exactly as per the human rating standards, enabling us to have 100% NDT, and the inherent pocket erosion characteristics are removed. The L100 stage Vikas engine, mostly it is 100% qualified to be the human rated engine with indigenously developed LET throats, and the pocket, back wall gap is eliminated, and it is a perfect system. And CE20 stage also is perfectly, actually, sir. Good. So we will describe all those details later because of shortage of time. Yes, sir. I take this opportunity to thank all the mission executives because mission executives for all the supports all along the launch campaign process as well as the launch. Once the launch manifest is released and mission executives are identified, really this is a penance of so many across the ISRO centers, our launch vehicle centers, VSSC, LPSC, IPRC, IASU, SDSC, SHAR, URSC and SAC, along with all our industrial partners, major players to the small-scale industries who supply us with all the deliverables in time, quality products, the suppliers of chemicals, propellant ingredients, suppliers of avionics systems, and our own GOCO facility operators. Actually, the industrial manpower is really our ISRO's virtual manpower. Everybody's efforts went into this and also the prayers and best wishes of all our seniors, retired executives, everyone's prayers and our own family members. I take this opportunity to pray God Almighty for all the blessings in the form of this success, which was the penance by the ISRO family for last 73 days. And my prayerful pranams for the successful continuous operations of the Chandrayaan spacecraft, for its safe and soft landing on lunar surface, and for thank you. Jai Hind.
Respected Chairman ISRO, Center Directors, dignitaries and my team Chandrayaan 3, very happy to note that our Chandrayaan 3 has been injected into an intended orbit with very close orbital parameters. Congratulations and thanks to LVM3 team. And all our spacecraft health parameters are normal, including the power generations in both propulsion module and lander module. Our journey to moon has begun now for the most awaited soft landing. We'll be closely monitoring and controlling the spacecraft from ISRAC Bangalore. Many critical events are lined up, starting from earthbound maneuvers, insertion into the lunar orbit, and separation of lander, and set of deboost maneuvers, and finally the power descent phase for a soft landing. I take this opportunity to thank Chairman ISRO, Director URSC, and all the center directors for entrusting me this opportunity, who have been the motivational and guidance force behind this mission. My special thanks to Chandrayaan 3 project executives, Associate Project Director Kalpana, Deputy Project Directors, Project Managers across the ISRO centers who have provided an excellent support in building the spacecraft. My special thanks to the expert committees for their constant guidance throughout the various stages of the project. I also thank the various work centers and industries who have contributed directly and indirectly to this mission. My special thanks to URSC council members, group directors, deputy directors across the ISRO centers, and looking forward for the soft landing with all your wishes and blessings from the God. Thank you.
We have our Honorable Minister for Space, Minister of State for Space, Dr. Jitendra Singh ji, amongst us during this historic occasion of success of launching of LVM3. So
it is indeed a moment of glory for India and a moment of destiny for all of us over here at Sriharikota who are a part of the history in making. Thank you, Team ISRO, for making India proud. And thank you, Honorable PM Narendra Modi ji, for having made this possible by unlocking the gates of Sriharikota and enabling the India's space sector. You would recall, Honorable Prime Minister had very recently said, sky is not the limit. And living by his words, I think the Chandrayaan today has gone beyond the limits of sky, of the universe beyond. Ladies and gentlemen, This day today, the 14th of July 2023, is also a day of vindication. Vindication of the dream that Vikram Sarabhai saw 6 decades ago. He might have been short of resources, but never short of confidence. And when we see those pictures of a launcher vehicle being carried on the carriage of a bicycle, without any remorse, without any slightest embarrassment, that is because Vikram and his team had faith in themselves, faith in India's potential, faith in India's acumen. And today, here, we are vindicating and we are reiterating India's indigenous, the ideal of Atmanirbhar Bharat. And before I conclude, ladies and gentlemen, as Mother India enters into the next 25 years of this Amrit Kal, she pledges to play a leading global role in the emerging world scenario of 21st century. Thank you and congratulations once again.
Thank you, sir. We will also introduce the directors of the centers who have done all those great work of building the rocket, building the scientific instruments for Chandrayaan-3, the Chandrayaan spacecraft itself, and made all those critical systems, and also the agencies who are going to handle the rest of the mission part, the tracking and the ground stations, and all those teams are here. So I request the directors of those centers to join. First, Director of Vikram Sarabhai Space Center.
Good afternoon, India. In last 1 year, this is the 10th mission, including the precise landing of the reusable launch vehicle. So with this mission, this is the 7th mission of LVM-3, the successful mission. With this, the success rate of LVM-3 is 100%. And this is the ideal vehicle for Gaganyaan. Some of the changes that we are incorporating in Gaganyaan, we have implemented here, and the Mark III has crossed the reliability of 0.9 and inching forward. So I take this opportunity to salute the entire ISRO community, especially the VSC community and all launch vehicle centers, industry partners for making the stages, making the subs. In fact, this is the 3rd launch of LVM-3 in 1 year. You know, the realizing the stages, assembling, testing, and then launching 3 LVM-3s in 1 year is a Herculean task. I salute the industry as well as all the ISRO centers for this. And I wish all the very best. We know that when the beginning is good, the ending has to be good. I wish all the very best to the Chandrayaan for its solitary journey through the vastness of space and for making a feather-like soft landing in the 4th week of August. Good luck. Thank you.
Dr. Narayanan, Director LPSC.
Good afternoon to all of you. It is a historical event for Indian space program and a proud moment for all the of the successful launch of the Chandrayaan-3. 3-in-1 spacecraft in the required orbit with the highest level of precision by our heaviest launch vehicle, LVM-3. After the 2 launches of LVM-3 vehicle this year, this vehicle is realized in the record shortest time. Today, once again, all the vehicle systems have performed, demonstrated the 7th successful launch. As you all know, the entire spacecraft community has put wholehearted effort during last 4 years, and we have realized a marvelous, great scientific satellite. For this mission, the entire vehicle performance is as expected, as predicted. In fact, the precision in which the satellite is launched shows the reliability of this vehicle. And we too have 4 liquid propulsion modules, 2 in the launch vehicle, The L110 stage, C25 stage, it has performed systems. We too have two more propulsion modules, one for taking the spacecraft to the moon, another one for soft landing. I think it is already well integrated. The system health is very good. Today's success is the culmination of the dedicated, smart, and hard work of all the ISRO team members and the work culture of ISRO and the review process what we follow. I am sure all further mission operations will be a grand success and we'll have the successful soft landing. On this occasion, let me congratulate and compliment the members of ISRO team, our family members who have really sacrificed, the partners from industry and academia, and the various review fora. Thank you. Jai Hind.
The Chandrayaan craft was built at the URO Satellite Center, so I request the Director of URC to speak.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I take this opportunity to first thank my colleagues from the Launch Vehicle Center for providing a textbook-like launch for Chandrayaan 3 on its journey towards moon. Thank you very much. And as Director LPSC and Director VSSC mentioned, realizing this kind of launch vehicle, third launch vehicle within a year's time is indeed a Herculean task. And thank you very much for the effort that has been put by all the members of the launch vehicle community and the industry supporting them. Coming to Chandrayaan 3, Mohan was telling that it is a penance. In fact, it is a penance of the Chandrayaan 3 team for the last 4 years, which has come today as an outcome. It is sitting like a brain sitting inside the head of a human being on that mighty vehicle. On top of that, that satellite was sitting, and it was such a happy moment to see that satellite getting separated. And our work continues from now for the next 42 days till we reach the lunar orbit and touchdown softly on moon. So we'll speak the rest of the things after the soft landing on top of moon. Till then, thank you very much for all the members of the satellite community and the industry for your support, which has been continuing over several years, and I'm sure will continue in future also. Thank you very much.
Space Applications Center Ahmedabad plays very important role in our scientific instruments and building of the satellites. Over to Director SAC, Nilesh Desai.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Outset, let me compliment Team ISRO for this excellent work, and especially vehicle team as well as the project team. And as we begin this historic journey towards moon, well begun is half done, as it is said. So I'm sure that we'll succeed in our effort and endeavor to land on moon safe and in secured manner with a soft landing after 45 days. So I wish all the best to all the people who have contributed directly or indirectly, and especially to the project team, spacecraft team, as well as my team at Space Applications Center, who has developed sensors and other hazard detection and avoidance system, which will help for a secured and safe landing on moon. So once again, I thank all who have contributed in this mission. Thank you.
Director of this center, Satish Dhawan Space Center, is the chairman of the Launch Authorization Board and also realizing the solid motors of this rocket. So over to Director SDSC Shah Rajarajan.
Honorable Minister of Science and Technology, Dr. Jitendra Singh, respected Chairman, our mentors and the dignitaries present here, and the entire ISRO family, a very successful launch, and hearty congratulations to all the LVM-3, M4 and Chandrayaan 3 mission. So once again, the Fat Boy has done its job and put a very precisely our prestigious lunar mission Chandrayaan 3 in the transfer orbit. And I congratulate the SDSC SHAR team, because throughout this launch, we had many launch campaigns of 355 and 56. Along with that, we are proud to have this. In spite of the weather conditions here, we have successfully launched LVM-3 in the prescribed launch window time between July 12th and 19th. And we had a very good, smooth campaign here, and all the hearty congratulations to the entire launch vehicle team, as well as for the last 2 months for hosting the Chandrayaan-3 team here and carrying out all the tests to make sure that Chandrayaan-3 is also ready for the mission. And I also thank our entire logistics team who handled this huge crowd throughout this campaign period, in particular last 2-3 days. And my sincere thanks to the various Indian industries who are now participating in various aspects of solid motor processing as well as the assembly activities of our launch vehicle to make it successful. And I wish a glorious success in the future to come. And I wish, as mentioned in the last week of August, to have a successful soft landing of Chandrayaan-3 lander on the moon surface and to make history. Once again, thank you. Jai Hind.
I request all center directors to join on the podium. Please come, all of you. Can you lower this? Please come. Please come here. Come.
Zero. Plus 5 seconds.
Liftoff normal.
Here we have a majestic liftoff of LVM-3 M4 rocket carrying India's prestigious Chandrayaan-3 spacecraft.
P2 tracking.
प्रज्वलन और सफलतापूर्ण उत्थापन LVM-3 M4 रॉकेट का। यह भीमकाय रॉकेट आसमान को चीरते हुए अपनी भयानक दहाड़ से चारों ओर कंपन उत्पन्न कर रहा है। इसे हम यहाँ महसूस कर सकते हैं।
1, 0. Plus 5 seconds.
Liftoff normal.
Here we have a majestic liftoff of LVM-3 M4 rocket carrying India's prestigious Chandrayaan-3 spacecraft.
P2 tracking.
प्रज्वलन और सफलतापूर्ण उत्थापन LVM-3 M4 रॉकेट का। अब हम उड़ान से 1 मिनट की दूरी पर।
Minus 50 seconds.
All sequences armed.
Stage ready. Minus 45 seconds. Minus 40 seconds.
L110 VHPP open. MOV 79 open.
Minus 33 seconds. Minus 30 seconds.
Real-time programs activated.
Minus 25 seconds.
L110 VSPP open.
Minus 20 seconds. Minus 15. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Plus 5 seconds.
Liftoff normal.
Here we have a majestic liftoff of LVM-3 M4 rocket carrying India's prestigious Chandrayaan-3 spacecraft.
P2 tracking.
प्रज्वलन और सफलतापूर्ण उत्थापन LVM-3 M4 यह भीमकाय रॉकेट आसमान को चीरते हुए अपनी भयानक दहाड़ से चारों ओर कंपन उत्पन्न कर रहा है। इसे हम यहाँ महसूस कर सकते हैं और यही दहाड़ है जो वैज्ञानिकों को रोमांचित करती है। LVM-3 के उत्थापन के साथ ही हमारे अंतरिक्ष यान चंद्रयान-3 की चंद्रमा की यात्रा प्रारंभ हो चुकी है।
As the rocket is soaring through the clear skies, every second moving closer to the accomplishment of the most important milestone in its mission to moon. Every Indian witnessing the launch live is content with the feeling of watching history in the making.
चंद्रमा की सतह पर अपना छाप छोड़ने के लिए चंद्रयान-3 अपने मिशन को पूरा करने निकल चुका है। वर्तमान में दोनों S-200 स्टेप ऑन बूस्टर सामान निष्पादन करते हुए अपनी निर्दिष्ट कक्षा की ओर बढ़ रहे हैं।
The S-200 motors thrusting simultaneously, generating a peak thrust of close to 6,000 kilonewtons in vacuum. They are made of HTPB-based solid propellant, 204.5 tons in each strap-on. Close to 2 tons of propellant being burnt each second.
S-200 स्ट्रैप-ऑन बूस्टर्स का कुल प्रज्वलन काल 126 सेकंड का है और अभी अभी घोषणा की गई L110 स्टेज का भी प्रज्वलन शुरू हो चुका है।
Apart from the strap-ons, the core stage has also commenced its operation. This stage, based on combination
200 stages are separated
of hypergolic earth storable liquid propellants UH-25 and N2O4. Now the S-200s have been separated.
सर इस यान से S-200 स्ट्रैप-ऑन बूस्टर्स को सफलतापूर्वक पृथक कर दिया गया है। यह काम सेपरेशन मोटर्स की मदद से किया जाता है। इसके बाद L110 तरल नोदक पर आधारित और विकास इंजन के साथ यह चरण सामान्य निष्पादन करता हुआ अपने उद्दिष्ट कक्षा की ओर बढ़ रहा है। अभियान क्लोज लूप गाइडेंस के अंतर्गत है।
L110 stage performance normal.
The trajectory of launch vehicle is closely following the prediction.
Payload fairing separated.
जी हाँ, पेलोड फेयरिंग को पृथक कर दिया गया है यान से क्योंकि 0.8 किलोमीटर की ऊंचाई प्राप्त कर चुका है। इस चरण का कुल प्रज्वलन काल 200 सेकेंड होता है और इस दौरान यह करीब 1600 किलो न्यूटन का प्रणोद उत्पन्न करता है।
We are 220 seconds past the launch time. Current altitude is 135 kilometers. In the 200 seconds of its operation, the L110 stage carries the rocket up to 175.5 kilometers altitude and imparts a relative velocity of 4.18 kilometers per second. That is 250 kilometers every minute.
L110 stage performance normal.
LVM-3 M4 रॉकेट का द्वितीय चरण पूर्णतः सामान्य निष्पादन करते हुए इस चरण में कुल 113 टन के तरल नोदक भरे जाते हैं। N2O4 तथा UH-25 अर्थ स्टोरेबल प्रोपेलेंट को ईंधन के रूप में प्रयोग किया जाता है इस चरण में।
Stage ignition is authorized.
अगला चरण C25 का प्रज्वलन भावी है।
plus 5 minutes.
One-ton stage thrust cut off and separated to C25 ignition command. 25 ignition confirmed.
That's a piece of really good news that the third stage has started its operation. The C25 stage has been ignited.
जी हाँ, एक बहुत ही जटिल प्रक्रिया होती है क्रायो इंजन और इसके प्रज्वलन के साथ ही तालियों की गड़गड़ाहट से गूंज उठा है मिशन नियंत्रण कक्ष। तृतीय चरण C25 वर्तमान में प्रणोद उत्पन्न कर रहा है। पूर्णतः सामान्य, सभी तंत्र पूर्णतः सामान्य हैं।
118 kilonewtons thrust in vacuum is what this stage develops with its 28.6 tons propellant combination of liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen. Present altitude is
performance normal.
तृतीय और यह अंतिम चरण है इस यान का C25। यह क्रायो ईंधन पर आधारित चरण है जिसमें लिक्विड हाइड्रोजन, लिक्विड ऑक्सीजन का इस्तेमाल होता है। इसमें कुल 28 टन का क्रायो ईंधन पूरी सुरक्षा तथा सावधानी के साथ भरा जाता है। इस चरण में 186 किलोन्यूटन का प्रणोद उत्पन्न होता है और यह करीब 640 सेकंड तक प्रज्वलित रहेगा। इसमें दिशा नियंत्रण के लिए इंजन जिम्बल का इस्तेमाल किया जाता है। क्रायो ईंधन का विशिष्ट आवेग 446 सेकंड के करीब होता है।
currently the rocket is at an altitude of 210 kilometers.
Plus 7 minutes.
While there is no much variation in altitude, this stage will add to the relative velocity immensely.
Cryo stage
आइए
performance
अब आपको
normal.
पेलोड के बारे में जानकारी देते हैं। लैंडर मॉड्यूल्स पे कई वैज्ञानिक प्रयोगों के लिए पेलोड्स लगाए गए हैं।
India's prestigious lunar landing spacecraft Chandrayaan 3 moving closer to its intended injection spot in the orbit. The propulsion module provides propulsion for earthbound maneuvers, translunar injection, and moonbound orbits. It also has a payload to study the spectral and polarimetric measurements of Earth and lunar orbit. The abbreviated name of the payload is SHAPE. Among the payloads of the lander module, the following are included. A landwehr probe called Rambha to measure the near-surface plasma density, that is the density of ions and electrons, and its changes with time. The second payload is Chandra's Surface Thermophysical Experiment, or CHASTE, to measure thermal properties of lunar surface near polar regions. To measure the seismicity around the landing site and delineating the structure of the lunar crust and mantle, payload ILSA is there. The rover, after its descent, will further the scientific study objectives through its own payloads. For better understanding of chemical and mineralogical composition of lunar surface, LIBS, or laser-induced breakdown spectroscope, is included. Another payload is the alpha particle X-ray spectrometer.
जी हाँ, लैंडर मॉड्यूल 3 पेलोड हैं। रोवर में 2 और प्रोपल्शन मॉड्यूल में 1 पेलोड भेजा गया है। चंद्रयान 3 के स्वदेशी लैंडर और रोवर में नितभारों का इस्तेमाल किया जा रहा है। यह अंतर्ग्रही मिशन के लिए भी आवश्यक तकनीकों का प्रदर्शन करेंगे। लैंडर के पास यह क्षमता है कि वह चंद्रमा की उबड़-खाबड़ सतह में भी बड़ी सावधानी से उतर सकेगा और रोवर को बाहर लाने के लिए और संचार सुविधाएं प्रदान करने के लिए सक्षम होगा। चंद्रयान 3 के लैंडर और रोवर में कुल 6 नितभार हैं। रेडियो एस्ट्रोनॉमी ऑफ मून बाउंड हाइपर सेंसिटिव आइनोस्फीयर एंड एटमॉस्फेयर, जिसे शॉर्ट में रंभा कहा जाता है, यह चंद्रमा की सतह के पास प्लाज्मा के घनत्व तथा समय के साथ बदलाव का मापन करेगा। इसके बाद चंद्र सरफेस थर्मोफिजिकल एक्सपेरिमेंट चंद्रमा के ध्रुवीय सतह के आसपास की थर्मल प्रॉपर्टीज का मापन करेगा। इंस्ट्रूमेंट फॉर ल्यूनर सिस्मिक एक्टिविटी लैंडिंग साइट के आसपास के क्षेत्र में भूकंप जैसी गतिविधियों का पता लगाएगा। रोवर में चंद्रमा की सतह के तत्वात्मक विश्लेषण के लिए लेजर इंड्यूस्ड ब्रेकडाउन स्पेक्ट्रोस्कोप और अल्फा पार्टिकल एक्सरे स्पेक्ट्रोस्कोप इसका इस्तेमाल किया जा रहा है। एक बहुत ही दिलचस्प वैज्ञानिक निर्धार है शेप स्पेक्ट्रोपोलैरिमेट्री ऑफ हैबिटेबल प्लैनेट अर्थ, जो कि चंद्रमा से पृथ्वी से परावर्तित नियर इंफ्रारेड किरणों का विश्लेषण दूसरे जीवन सहायक ग्रहों को खोजने में मदद करेगा। वर्तमान में C-25 इंजन कार्यरत है और पूर्णतः सामान्य प्रदर्शन कर रहा है। अब हम प्रमोशन से 700 सेकंड की दूरी पर आ चुके हैं। सापेक्ष गति 6.5 किलोमीटर प्रति सेकंड, ऊंचाई 191 किलोमीटर।
As we have told you about the Chandrayaan 3's upgrades in the aspects of enhanced robustness through extensive ground tests and simulation. During the last phase of landing, the module will have a vertical velocity of less than 1 meter per second and a horizontal velocity of less than 0.5 meters per second from a height of 3 meters. The lander legs are designed to be robust enough to thrive the impact. The cameras are tuned to take pictures ahead of the landing and enable intelligent decision-making for choice of best location to land, avoiding craters and boulders on lunar surface. The successive pictures will also enable the craft to determine its horizontal and vertical velocity in real time. Laser Doppler velocity sensor is an upgrade in Chandrayaan 3 over its predecessor. It helps to determine instantaneous velocity of craft. Insights into the behavior of Chandrayaan 2 in the last few minutes of its descent has revealed to the scientists the necessity for upgrade in the guidance algorithm. Inputs from various sensors are used by the autonomous navigation guidance algorithm of Chandrayaan 3 to plan the flight path to the most suitable landing spot. The engines of Chandrayaan 3 are capable of more gradual throttling also.
वर्तमान में हम मिशन से 817 सेकंड की दूरी पर आ चुके हैं। करीब 950 सेकंड पर तृतीय चरण क्रायोजेनिक इंजन को शट ऑफ कर दिया जाएगा। और उचित अभिवृद्धि प्राप्त कर चंद्रयान 3 को यान से पृथक कर दिया जाएगा। चंद्रयान 3 को LVM-3 M4 द्वारा एलिप्टिकल पार्किंग ऑर्बिट में लॉन्च करने के पश्चात 170 किलोमीटर की पेरिजी पर क्रमशः 5 बार मैन्यूवरिंग कमांड दिया जाएगा। 5वीं बार में यह पृथ्वी से चंद्रमा की ओर प्रस्थान करेगा, जिसे हम ल्यूनर ट्रांसफर ऑर्बिट के नाम से जानते हैं। फिर 5 अगस्त 2023 को यह चंद्रमा की कक्षा में प्रवेश करेगा और फिर क्रमशः 5 मैन्यूवरिंग के पश्चात प्रोपल्शन मॉड्यूल चंद्रमा की 100 किलोमीटर की वृत्ताकार कक्षा में स्थापित हो जाएगा। यहाँ यह उचित समय और आवृत्ति में लैंडर मॉड्यूल को पृथक करेगा और 23 अक्टूबर 2023 को चंद्रमा की सतह पर लैंडिंग की प्रक्रिया शुरू की जाएगी।
We have come close to 900 seconds after the launch. Currently, the C-25 stage is thrusting. Current relative velocity is 9.29 kilometers per second.
जी हाँ, कुछ ही क्षणों में हम देखेंगे तृतीय चरण LVM-3 M4 रॉकेट का चंद्रयान को उद्दिष्ट कक्षा की ओर ले जा रहा है।